Let's hear from Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let's bring him on with a warm round of applause.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Thank Brother Akbar for those words, and we say all praise is due to Allah. Our subject tonight is the color purple. There's a lot of controversy over this movie, The Color Purple. How many of you in this audience have seen the movie? May I see your hands? Practically everyone. Those who have seen it have not gone away neutral. Everyone has an opinion about this movie. Some pro, some con. Some good, some bad. The arguments rage on in our community, in the churches, in the schools, at home. In some cases, it has provoked serious argument, but in all cases, controversy. And controversy is not necessarily negative, for it forces us to think. Before I speak on The Color Purple, the movie, I would like to quickly sum up the time. For if we understand the time, then we're able not to see things, but to see into things. Wise people today must learn not just to look at things, but to look into things. This means that foresight is good because it enables us to see a thing before it happens. Insight is good because it enables us to see that which is not readily observed on the surface. If we understand the time, then it gives us foresight, and it gives us insight. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that the time is important in everything. And very quickly, the scriptures of the Bible and the Holy Quran speak of this time as the time of the resurrection of the dead, the time of the judgment of the world. Those of you who are Christians, who understand from the words of Jesus spoken in the 24th chapter of Matthew, where he delineates the things that we would see as a clear sign pointing to the end of this system of things. And he told us that nation would rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, that there would be wars and rumors of wars, there would be pestilence and famine and earthquakes in diverse places, but that this was just the beginning of sorrows. Now, all of these things are taking place as I speak to you this evening. So we have arrived to that time, according to the prophecies of the scriptures, of the end of the present world and its power to rule. If we understand that the present world is dominated by Caucasian people, and that they have exercised sway and power over the darker nations of the earth, and it is they whose world we live in, then it is clear that it is they whose time has come. Not that your time has not also come, or our time, but their time of rule is now being judged and condemned by God and the prophets. So you see a diminishing of the power of the Western world over all dark people. Now, it doesn't take a scholar or a scientist to see this. Your eyes are very, very good. If you open them, you will see, since the rise of Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana in 1957, and 30 African nations winning their independence in just a few years, and from the Bandung Conference that took place in Indonesia, where all of the third world nations got together and would not let any Western European power present in that meeting. They sentenced colonialism to death in 1955. And from that point on, there has been a steady diminishing of the world of white power and the beginning of the rising up of the darker world of oppressed people. The great symbol of the end of their time is now seen in southern Africa, where children are fighting the armed might of South Africa, supported by the technology of America, England, and Israel, West Germany. Yet we see apartheid crumbling. This is a sign of the rise of the dark man and the fall of the Caucasian power in the world. Here in America, you are a part of that worldwide movement. And even though you are somewhat slow in your rise, nevertheless, the sign of your awakening is everywhere. And so in America, you see the rise of dark people. The holiday for Dr. King, the celebration that was held this past week, or this past Monday, demonstrates that black folk have come a long way. But if you listen to the young, they are not impressed. The young know that we have a long way yet to go. And if you listen carefully to their words suggest greater challenge to a racist system in the days ahead. The rising up of black people brings about a fall of those that have oppressed us. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that a rising force pulls apart and destroys a falling force. Now, my question to you, if you agree with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and with what you see with your eyes going on in the world, that this is the time that is written of in the Bible and Holy Quran as the resurrection of the dead. And we do not mean cemetery dwellers. We mean those who are mentally dead to the light and knowledge of God, self, the devil, the true religion of God, the true nature of themselves, and they have been dead politically, dead economically, dead socially, with no power. Now you see a stirring among these dry bones in a vast valley. If I may just quickly paint the picture, as a valley is a low place between two mountain ranges. If you look at the world as a valley, and the scriptures of the Bible say, I will gather all nations down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and there will I plead with them for my people who have been sold, for strong drink or for wine, that they might drink. Yes. Now here, the two mountain ranges represent two great powers in the earth. One on the east and one on the west. One in the east being Russia, one in the west being America and the Western powers. And in the valley, you have these dry bones. All the darker people, darker nations. Now you see a stirring of the bones in the valley. The dead are rising up. Now, if you were in power, stop a moment, put yourself in the shoes of those in power. If you were in power and you knew that your time to rule was limited, and that as long as the masses remained asleep, you could continue to rule, what would your policy be? Your policy would be, your program would be, keep the masses asleep by whatever means necessary. Am I truthful here? Now, if the wise who are in power know that your rise will bring about their fall, and they do not want to fall, nor do they intend to fall, then their mind is set to prevent what? Your rise. Is that clear? How many of you agree with just the little that you've heard that this is the time of the general rising up of all of the darker people and the oppressed people of the earth? How many of you can see that? All right, very good. Now, if you can see that this is the time of the rising of the darker world and the rising of the oppressed, then can you see that in the nature of the oppressor, he does not want to see this. He will not compromise with it. His aim is to do what? Keep the sleeping giant asleep. You agree? The Quran says of Satan or the devil or Iblis, respite me till the day when they are raised. Meaning, delay my doom, delay my judgment until those that are in their graves are raised up. When the resurrection takes place, the respite for Satan is over. That means his end has come. Now, if you agree with me that that is the case, and you agree with the prophets that we are the dead that must be raised, then what keeps us from rising? It is the power of the grave. And the power of the grave is a force that inclines you heavily to the earth. What happened to the blackboard? You all keep robbing me of my blackboard. So I will have to paint imaginary pictures. Gravity is a force that inclines everything of the earth to the earth. In order to get out of the pull of gravity, you must have a powerful force that will get you out beyond the gravitational pull, which is created by the movement of the earth as it turns on its axis and as it revolves around the sun at the terrific speed of 1,037 and 1/3 miles per hour. That rotation and revolution creates a force that inclines everything on the earth to the earth. What we learn from that is that we are living in a world that exercises power over our minds. That world is called the grave. It is not that this grave is 6 feet deep, but this grave is under the power of one who is under the number 666. For your Bible in the book of Revelation says, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for the number of the beast is the number of a man, 666. As clouds cannot get out of gravity, and the ceiling of gravity is approximately 6 miles high, then we learn from that we who are in the world of the Caucasian, we are in the world of those who have exercised power over the dark people of the world. Therefore, we are in the motion of their world. And the motion of their world is like a grave. It inclines all of us to their world. So it's very difficult to get out of the pull of their world because the motion of their world has us. Right. Their institutions control the way we think. Right. We go to churches dominated by them. Right. We go to schools dominated by them. We are in a society dominated by their social customs. We are under their political system. So every time we try to get out, we reach an impasse and we are knocked back down. We go so high and we come right back down. We can't seem to get out of the pull of their world. Their world is our grave. And the only way we can get out of the pull of their world, as the old song we used to sing in church is, that in that great getting up morning, we have to take on wings. We have to be able to have enough power in our thrust that we can get beyond the pull of their world, which inclines us to them and their way of civilization. Now, they want to keep their motion going because their motion is their world. And the only way they can keep their world and their motion going is to limit yours.
Right.
All right. Now, that's the base of my subject. The color purple. Now, since you understand that your enemy is not trying to get you up and out from under their pull, then you must look at everything that is done by and permitted by and that comes through your enemy with the eye of one who wants to rise and one who is looking into this thing to see what is in it to keep me where I am under their grip and under their power. The color purple. Insight is what we need. In the Quran, one of the attributes of Almighty God, Allah, is that He is one well aware and one aware of subtleties. Let us stop a moment. Wise people don't necessarily come at you like so. Wise people drop on your brains things that maybe you are unaware of the power of what you're hearing. They come at you from a position where you are unable to defend yourself. They come at you through subtleties. Television and the advertising world is full of subtleties. There are subliminal messages that you must be aware of in everything that are so subtle that unless you're wise to pick up on the unseen, it doesn't make the seen as intelligible as the seen could be. Unless you're wise enough to hear the word that is unspoken, then you cannot look deeply into the word that is spoken. For the real power is not what you see, and the real power is not what you hear. The real power is what is unseen behind what you see, and what is unheard behind what you hear. Now, when wise people and sisters, you know what I'm talking about. When a man wants to talk to you, or when a woman wants to talk to a man, because we both play these kind of games. Sometimes a man wants to say something to you, but he don't want to say it. So he says it in a way that you get the message, but you can't accuse him of saying anything. And if you say, what do you mean by this? So what are you talking about? He can always back out and slip and slide because he must be subtle. And you must be one well aware to pick up on the subtlety. You understand? There are ways that women come at men, and it is so subtle. Unless you are well aware of subtleties, to hear what is not spoken and to see what is not there, but yet is, then you can fall into the tender trap. Subtleties. The color purple. Now, here's a movie with nearly an all-black cast. Whites are in the movie incidentally, but they are the unseen, all-pervasive reality, but they are not seen. You must understand that. But most who see the picture don't understand that whites are very present there. But they're not seen. The color purple. In the early 60s, there was an explosion of black movies. They called them black exploitation films. You remember some of them? Cotton Comes to Harlem, Superfly, and a whole host of things that painted us as pimps and hustlers and thugs and dope dealers and you name it. I mean, it was a whole run of those kind of films, and we filled the theaters to see ourselves on the screen. White folks saw there was money in making black movies in the 60s, so they made a lot of black folk stars. By the time the 70s came around, they had no more need to make those kind of movies, and all of a sudden, your overnight stars of black movies were in Hollywood with no jobs, really looking for something to do. This is very, very true. Now, whenever a movie comes out with an all-black cast, that movie is special. We have to go out to see it because we're looking for ourselves and we want to see ourselves in things in order to believe that we have a part to play. So whenever a movie comes out that is filled with us, we want to fill the theater to see what that movie is all about. The color purple. Now, the woman that wrote the book is one of our own sisters. We don't know much about her. There's some suspicion, which I will not repeat suspicion. But she wrote a book, a novel, I guess they call it. Fiction, but based on very real circumstances that many of you went in that movie and identified with. From the opening of that movie, nearly 60% of the women in the audience could identify with incest. That's hard for you to believe. But incest is common in the black experience today. I never would have believed this. But in my experience as a minister in New York, I heard cases among the Muslims where there was incest. I didn't tell him about it. I didn't tell my wife about it. I heard the cases and I judged the cases, but I never exposed those cases to the light because the children that were involved in such case, it would be devastating. But I saw and I heard and I ferreted out the truth in several cases of incest. And then it dawned on me why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told the sisters of the MGT not to leave their daughters home alone with their fathers. I couldn't understand that. I thought that was terrible, that a man cannot be left home with his own children that he brought into the world. But after I lived a little and learned a little about the nature of our experience and what was happening to black girls and even young black boys, that incest was a very real thing in the black community. Now, as we open that movie, and there is a father having sex with his stepdaughter, there are many in this audience who can empathize, sympathize, and understand the devastation of an incestuous relationship. The movie starts off amidst beauty, but there's ugliness in the midst of this beauty. So it starts off with a man, a black man, looking like a beast, acting like a beast, engendering the hatred of those in the audience for him. But what you don't see, when the enemy is writing a script from the book and making a movie for you to see, his aim is not just artistic. His aim has to do with the overall theme that I worked on for 15 minutes before I got into the color purple. His aim is, if you rise, he falls. So in order to impair your rise, I must put things before you that will increase the possibility of your never coming to power. And if I continue to lambaste the black man, if I destroy the man in your eyes and in his own eyes, he will never be able to rise. And if he does not rise, I will not fall. Look now, insight. The color purple. I am not arguing about the reality of what is on the screen. I am arguing about the motivation, the subtlety in those who write that you never see, those who direct that you never see, those who are behind the scenes using the God-given talents and gifts of brilliant black artists to portray something that dehumanizes and keeps you in a mold that you cannot come to power with yourself. The color purple. So we start with incest. And in this incestuous relationship, something evil is taking place. A man that is a father, entrusted with the responsibility of rearing his stepdaughter, is now having a sexual relationship with the daughter, making her pregnant. Then at delivery, before the mother can get on speaking terms with the daughter, this so-called father takes the child and sells it. Right away, mother, what kind of feeling does it bring up in you? You're a mother. You, all right, more than that. You want to throw up? Yes. You get angry? Yes. You feel pain? Yes. Because every one of you that is a mother, and every one of you that was a 14-year-old girl that an older man pounced upon in your innocence, in your youth, in your naivete, and that person is one that you had confidence in, that was supposed to be a guardian and a protector of you. But when mother was not around, because mama had to work, mama got busy, mama did things, father slipped in and took advantage of a daughter. Sometimes the girl begins to hate the father so And she begins to even hate the mother because the mother is so blind that the mother can't see what the father's doing, and the daughter can't tell. The father puts fear in the daughter, and he will kill the daughter if she opens her mouth. So she has the baby. And if you lost your child, somebody just took it from you before you could press it to your breast, before you could nurse it from your breast, before you could swaddle the baby, clean the baby, see its umbilical cord cut, somebody took the baby away from you and sold it and told you get up and get on back to work. Now, what you saw in the father was what he imitated from an unseen master who was not present at all. But you didn't see that. What you saw was this black man. Nigga, that's what he is. And automatically your skin is boiling, not boiling for the slave master that ruined that man. Go ahead, buddy. Not boiling against the social conditions that made that man the wretch that he was. But your anger, sister, your hatred was kindled against that father, that black man that you identified with. That's a no good nigga. You never saw the slave master, the no good enemy that produced that no good nigga. Do you understand what I'm saying? Go ahead. So in the absence of your seeing the cause that produced this effect, then your anger and your hatred is focused on the effect, because the evil one threw the stone and hid his hand. You got it? Now, I can't go through the whole movie, but I'm going to pick out certain things, okay? Now, this young girl loved her child. She wanted to be free of that circumstance. She had a younger sister, right? Right. The father was trying to get to the younger sister. Is that true? So every time you think about that, you see men in a negative light. They're like animals. They're like dogs. Here's a man that ruined the life of one little girl, and he can't wait to get her out of the way so he can get her sister. Is that the way the movie went? A man came to the door looking quite dignified. He's looking to get the pretty daughter. He don't want the ugly one. But the father had enough of the ugly one. He gets her out of the way so he can get her sister. So the next thing you see, he really didn't want her at all, but he took her for convenience. The next thing you see is a dirty, nasty, filthy house. That the man was satisfied to live in filth if he had to clean it. He brings her in. Where he marries her, she's really not a wife to him. She's a thing that he does his business on. The color purple. He uses her, Whoopi Goldberg. She plays her part so well. I'm telling you, she may win an Oscar for that role, but not just because of her acting ability, but she wins an Oscar in the eyes of white folk because she aids in proving the point that the black man is a dog. And as long as the black man remains a dog, you cannot rise, therefore he cannot fall. The color purple. All right. Next time you look around, the house is clean. That little so-called ugly black girl has cleaned up that nasty pig pen. She's a smart girl, but she hides her smartness in a certain demeanor that says she's stupid, she's docile, she's meek, she's obedient, but she's really crafty, smart. She knows where his shoes are. She knows where his cufflinks are. She knows where his socks are. She knows where his tie is. She knows more about this man's affair than the man himself. All he can do is abuse her. I mean, if you look at the movie, it is a work that subtly is an indictment. Overtly, it's an indictment against the black man. Right. And we can prove that all the way through to the end of the movie. Wasn't a black man in the movie that came off well. The color purple. If your black man don't come off well at all, sisters, then where are you going? Now, you may be dumb enough to think you can do without a man. I don't know whoever sold that idea. Naturally, sometimes it's better to be alone than with somebody who is no good at all. But that doesn't satisfy the void that not having a man actually brings, because God intended you for the man and the man for you. The Quran says of the man that men are the maintainers of women. You know, maintenance is a heck of a thing. You got a building here, and it may look nice when you get it, but if you don't maintain it, it'll fall apart on you. The finest building in the world needs maintenance. If men are the maintainers of women, that doesn't just mean that you provide for them, you work hard and help them in certain ways. Men have the responsibility of upkeeping the spirit of a woman. And upkeeping the nature in which she's created. She's born of the righteous by nature, and it is your responsibility to make sure that she stays in the mold that God intended. That's your duty. But if you as a man are crushed and X'd out, who will maintain your woman? And since the nature of the Caucasian man is not to really maintain your woman, but to degrade your woman, then when the black man is destroyed, the black woman is a degraded woman. The color purple, you were a degraded woman in the movie. A degraded woman, a woman without a sense of value, of her own worth as a human being. And she meets another woman who only recognizes that she can sing and she's fine, and she gives herself away to any man that would have her. And the mockery of this beautiful, so-called beautiful woman over this so-called ugly woman, because this beautiful woman took her man And the man was so hateful, he brought this beautiful woman right in the home of his wife and flaunted the fact that his wife was nothing to him but a useful tool. And the beautiful woman mocked the ugly woman until she found out that the ugly woman was beautiful indeed. And then they had a relationship. So the bestiality of the black man leads to homosexuality. Bestiality leads to homosexuality. Oh, it wasn't really a deep thing, but the beautiful woman physically found real beauty in the ugly woman spiritually. And she, who is looking for the beauty of God, she found it in this ugly woman, and she liked that woman because that woman nursed her. That woman helped her. The scene in the tub when the woman is sick and dying, and the so-called ugly woman is nursing her back to health, and the ugly woman, so-called, is talking about a relationship with her father, and this so-called pretty woman in the tub is thinking about a relationship that she has with her father. Even her father and the relationship that he has with this song stylist is very unhealthy, because even when that man becomes a preacher for God, he is so insensitive to human need. He's so imbalanced in his representation of God. He's so callous and hard in the name of God and his righteousness that he doesn't understand what he's doing to a daughter who needs his love and his affection. Yes, she has made mistakes. Yes, she has fallen into bed with men, but as Jesus was compassionate, his understanding of Jesus was so limited, he could not give his daughter what his daughter needed. So here again, the man was a beast, but now he's a beast with a collar on. Even God in his understanding of religion can't help him out of the condition that he's in. Even his understanding or his misunderstanding of religion does not allow him to feed the yearning in his daughter's breast for a meaningful relationship with her own father. He is more concerned about how she makes him look in the eyes of the congregation than how she looks in the eyes of God. The color purple. She's crying because she wants a decent relationship with her father and she can't have it. And the other woman, Whoopi, is crying because she had an indecent relationship with her father and she couldn't care less to be near him. So the two meet. And a man that neither one of them really think too much of is using the woman of beauty and therefore misusing her, and using the woman of ugliness and therefore misusing her. So the righteous man in the church becomes a religious dog, while the playboy man, he's a manifest dog. And his father, the old man, comes in and he's another old dog that is trying to teach his son, a young dog, a new trick or two. The color purple. The color purple. But meanwhile, a domineering father produces a son that is a wimp. Another man, now he's totally out of the box. And he's so out of the box, he marries a mother figure in Oprah. And Oprah is so strong and magnificent in her strength till she just overpowers the man that she marries. So the image that we get here is the strong woman coming through all the time. The woman that is abused, the woman that is misused, the woman that is the strength and the cornerstone of everything. Everybody dumps on the woman, and finally we get a strong woman, and she gets a man that is so weak that she ends up fighting white people while he stands on the sideline trembling. She said, "Take my children home." He becomes mama. While she stands and battles the police, she tells him, "Take my babies home." So the women in the audience, they identify with that strong, "Whoop that man! Put it there! Put it to him! Yeah, you sick, sorry nigga, take the children home." And you sitting in your chair angry as hell that that man ain't a man. And then you say, "Just like my husband. No good, so-and-so wouldn't stand up for me either." Poor black man sitting in there, he going further and further down his chair, man. Lord, when am I going to be rescued in this picture? When they finally let Oprah out of jail, she's ugly, beat up, broke. Then she end up driving for the white woman. Only time the men in the movie show any kind of spark is when the white woman get in trouble with her car. Then they all can help her.
Yeah.
Only time they show any manhood
Yeah.
is in trying to save this white woman because they don't want her to crash, because if she crashed, they will swear that the niggas killed her.
They was ready for their own
The color purple. I know I'm skipping over a lot of pertinent points, but the subliminal message to the woman is, I don't care how strong you are, don't you ever think that you can rise up against the white man. Because I broke Winfrey, whatever her name was in the movie. I broke her, and I'll break you too. That's the subtle message. Your man ain't nothing, he ain't gonna defend you. And if you rise up against me, I'll break you too. So if you don't rise, I won't fall. Color purple. Sister goes off to Africa. She starts writing beautiful things about Africa. She went to Africa and she saw black people doing things a little differently, and it was kind of producing an awakening in her. And this man is so wicked. He's hiding all the letters that she writes to her poor sister. Yeah. See, the sister love comes through strong. That's right. Ain't no brother love in that.
No, brother.
Well, I'm going to make this brief. In the end, finally, she gets strength. Everybody in the theater is happy. She finally gets the strength to rebel against this no good man. He said, "Come on here, woman, and shave me." And everybody in the movie is with her when she picks up the race. And everybody in the movie is saying, cut the son of a so-and-so. Cut it, cut it. And you can see her making up her mind to kill him now. And everybody in the audience is with her. Kill him. Even the brothers in the audience say, yeah, that nigga ain't right. Kill him. Kill him. No good nigga. But you don't see the white man have made him like that. You don't see that the social circumstances have destroyed your man and destroyed you. And now you about to destroy your man. And here the razor. He's acting the fool. And he's really calling for his demise. And this other one is running. You see her running to try and get there to stop this girl from killing this man. And some in the audience is saying, Lord, stop her. And some saying, I hope you fall. That nigga need to be killed. And she gets there just in time to save that girl. Finally, in the end, she gets courage and she stands up against him very strongly. She got strength. And her strength began to put more strength back in Oprah. And everybody's enjoying because she's finally getting the upper hand over this man. Finally, she walks out on him. And he goes right on down to nothing. The way he was when she met him. Dirt and filth and garbage. But the subtlety is, in that state, something happens to him. And he wants to try to make amends. It's a subtle point. It's there, but he did so much evil till you don't even notice the good that he's trying to do. So he takes the money that he saved and he makes it possible for the sister and her children to come back to make the reunion. So in the end, you see this reunion between the two sisters, and you see his image in the field. But he's faded in the background now. He's doing good, but his good is too little, too late. But he's trying now, but don't nobody have no sympathy for him.
That's right.
Finally, in the end, you know, the girl that was rejected by her father, she gets religion. And she comes home singing. There's some subtleties in it that are good. The acting was superb. Many of you go there and you identify with the suffering and you weep. You feel good when the sister gets strength because she represents the underdog, and you feel proud of her, you know. And when you go out of the movie, you go out, that was nice, wasn't it? Right. And that was really nice. Boy, that Whoopi sure played a part. Wasn't Oprah great? But whoever the man was, you don't even remember that man. And out of that picture, two persons emerge. Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey. And if anyone else emerges, it's another woman. No man emerges as anything of value in that picture. Either acting-wise or human-wise. Is that right? That's right. Let me conclude by saying that when you look at this movie, the innocence of it is just a movie. Surely there is no diabolical plot in a movie. I mean, it was written by a black person. The screenplay was done by a white person. It was directed by this marvelous director, Spielberg. And look, what's that great musician's name? Quincy had a part in it. It must be all right. But beloved, today, our people's hunger to be seen, to be famous, to have money, is like a trap. Because the Jews that control Hollywood recognize that your rise is the fall of their world. When you write meaningful scripts that show your people in a good way, you very seldom find a producer to produce that kind of script. And so the movies that have you in it, White Knights, and there's a couple more, they show you in a way that if you understand that this is the time of your rise and their fall, then your rise and your fall is always in these motion pictures. And until we make the movies with a resurrected mind, we will always play into the hands of the powers of the world whose spinning power keeps us bound to their way of life. So there'll always be a prince. There will always be, what's that performer like Prince that, not Michael. I'm sorry, brothers, you haven't called his name, but he used to come out with a diaper on.
Bootsy, George Clinton.
But what's his stage name? Rick James. Rick James. Bootsy come out in the diapers? Well, Rick James did some crazy way out things too. My point is, even though all these artists, you like them. No. You don't dislike them. You like them. I love the brothers and sisters myself, but I don't love what they're into. You understand? Now they are in the gravitational pull of the world. So as they try to write a lyric that may speak to getting out of the world, somebody said, well, that's not going to sell too well. Why don't you take this lyric here? And they come up with something more filthy than the last person's song. Let's do it again. Or let's do it all night and all through the day. I'm not trying to be smart, but that's the kind of mess that our children are hearing all day, all night. You turn on your radio. I listen to the white disc jockeys now that have moved out the black ones. Yeah, go ahead. And the conversation that they have is so stupid and filthy. It is such a gross misuse of the airwaves, destroying the minds of their young and ours. Why? Everything must be done to hinder your what? Rise. And if we can hinder your rise, we will not fall. White folks talk. So your music is degraded. Your styles are degraded. Oh, yeah. Your whole mindset is bent on your destruction. So we live the color purple. It's very, very sad. And when a brother like Michael Jackson comes along, whose talent is so exquisite that this young man and his skill can be put before the world as a symbol, but without no real man to balance him. See, at least in the white world, if there's a Boy George, there's a George Bush. You know, if there's a Reagan that's a dancer and his wrist is broken, there's a Ronald, you see, to balance that. But when you look at yourself, when they put our artists before the world who are somewhat effeminate, I'm not saying they're homosexuals, I'm saying they're effeminate. They don't give a woman a strong image of a man. In fact, you now are so sick mentally, sisters. I'm not trying to hurt the sisters' feelings, but the sisters are so sick mentally, you fall in love with your own image. And you are the ones that's supporting Prince, when it would seem to me that if I was a woman and I wanted a man, what the hell would I be doing supporting something that's trying to look as feminine as me? And so Prince comes out in the color purple. With his hair prettier than yours, his legs prettier than yours. And he trying to show you, I can compete with you, and you eating it up because you falling in love with your own self. You don't want a man, you want a woman. And that's why you pay these freaks and keep them happy. Stevie walk around with braids and whatnot. You don't care. You don't want a man to look like a man anymore. You want yourself. And that's why lesbianism is going crazy, and you men are turning into faggots in the eyes of the world, man. Smelling sweet, walking sweet, talking sweet with your ruffled clothes, and you such a big freak. You go and pay to see a freak perform. A man that's acting like a woman stepping across the stage, and you say, "Go on, baby." Men coming out in frilly things with their guitar jumping all over the stage like monkeys. And you sitting down there hollering, "Get on, baby." Wow. It's the color purple. It's sickness. But in all of that, there is the germ of divine. Because the scripture is not to be mocked. God is not mocked. You are to be raised from the dead. And all of this is death for you. But it's true, brother and sister. I looked at the celebration for Dr. King the other night. It makes you throw up. He's a serious man. Every time he opens his mouth, he's talking serious. Whether you agree with his serious talk or not, King was serious. We're celebrating the holiday of a black man who died for our cause. And everybody that's singing, they have nothing to do with his cause. It's a chance to be on national TV. I can't understand Stevie, why he would say, "I just called to say I love you." Here Dr. King is dead. Why can't your songs inspire the movement to continue? Why can't your dance inspire the movement to continue? I don't want to hear what you sang that don't have no damn meaning for liberation.
Go ahead.
but we just want to be entertained, and Dr. King was an excuse for a night of entertainment. Harry Belafonte, serious as cancer. And that man suffered because he was serious. And you see him there with the Boys Choir of Harlem talking about Dr. King. He could have sung Matilda. He could have got away with some of his songs, but he came with something for the doctor. Something meaningful. Mrs. King didn't want a lot of frivolity, but her wishes were not respected. See, if you call him your prince, and he's a prince of peace, there's a certain way you celebrate for righteous people. You don't get funky and crazy when you celebrate the birth of a righteous man, a man that you recognize as having saintly qualities. Why should you celebrate his worthy life with unsaintly behavior? The color purple. But yet in that purple, it is a symbol of royalty. And the scripture says you are a peculiar nation, a holy nation, a royal priesthood. God is going to make you priests of the Most High. Even though you're messed up, yet you're regal. Even though you're destroyed, yet you are absolutely a regal people. And the resurrection is to bring you back to that state that you once were in before your fall. So, beloved, there's an anecdote to this. And there's an antidote to the poison. Islam comes after everything else fails. And if everything else has failed to make a man out of us, here comes Islam. Islam comes to affect our lives. What is Islam? It is entire submission to the will of God. It comes to make a man, from the dust and drape him in royal purple robes.
Hallelujah.
You understand? God made a man in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And no matter what the forces of this world did against that man stood, and that man was a maintainer of women. They charged him with evil against women. But if you look at the women that he produced and the women he taught and what he made of those women, as evidence in his lifetime, that of Muhammad, you would see that an unrighteous man cannot make and maintain a righteous woman. He's been gone for 10 years, yet from wherever he is, she's maintained. Yes, sir. That's a powerful man. Right. And he's made a powerful woman. This incestuous thing has to be taken out of the heart of the black man. The only way you can stop that kind of madness in him is you must give him another reason for his sexuality. You must give him an understanding of why God created sex. And you must help him to understand that the drive for sex is like the hunger for food. But if you overeat, you get obese, you have stroke, heart attack, high blood pressure, and you die young. And if you overindulge in sex, it produces the same thing, particularly if there is no commitment to a woman and you take no commitment from a man, you just indulge yourself, then you destroy the value of that very sacred act that God himself has given to us as a means of pleasure, but as a means of the procreation of the human species. Nature out of control is destructive. Witness tornadoes, witness the volcanoes, witness the earthquakes. This is nature out of control. When you have a nature that you will not try to control, then that nature out of control is destructive, and it ends up destroying your life. How many men and women have destroyed their brilliant futures through their promiscuity? And now promiscuity is leading to herpes and simplex 2 and AIDS and all kinds of corrupting diseases. So people now are afraid to have sex with strangers because they really don't know what they're getting into. So God has to frighten you to keep yourself zipped up. Frighten you to keep your clothes on. No, I ain't messing with that. Don't kiss me. Got a little sore in the corner of your mouth. I don't know what the hell that is. God is frightening you back into a sense of morality. God is trying to make a man. I thank him for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I thank Allah for that example that he gave us in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that if we key off of that man, we can become men. I wanted to be a man. I wanted to be strong when I was just a young boy. I didn't have a father. I didn't know my father. But I had a strong mother who played both father and mother. I wasn't satisfied with her playing both roles. I would have been happier to have a father. But she was strong enough to be both of them. But when I met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I met the father that I always wanted. When I met Malcolm X, I met the father that I always wanted. He was a strong man. He was a disciplined man. He was a man that knew where he was going and would lead others to a goal. So when I met a man like that, I latched on to that kind of man, and in latching on to that kind of man, I started becoming a man. And when you start becoming a man, you start putting away foolish things, childish things. Paul said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, because I thought as a child and I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I don't need alcohol now. Drinking is a part of childish behavior for me, because I don't have a need to get drunk. I don't have a need to drink. Smoking I used to do, just to have a feel of a cigarette in my hand, I don't know why I needed the cigarette in my hand. I just had to have a cigarette, But when I recognized, hey, look at what you're doing. You're making yourself a slave to nicotine. And this little old 3-inch brown tobacco with a white wrapping had me hooked. I can't be a man hooked on a 3-inch cigarette. I can only be a man if I put everything under me that God told me to subdue. And he told me to subdue the earth. He said he gave us, man, woman, power to rule over this thing. Why should we sit around and let the earth rule us? This body came from the earth. It was made to be ruled by you. You don't let the penis rule you. You don't let the vagina rule you. You rule it. But too bad, you become the color purple. You are ruled by desires. You are ruled by your organs instead of you ruling it. It rules you. We must become men and women with absolute say-so over us. Well, she seduced me. Oh, shut up. Can't no woman seduce you, brother. You seduce yourself. And no woman make you do what you don't want to do. Well, she forced me. Yes, she did. She started taking off her clothes. She forced me. Well, why did you stay there? Well, I just wanted to see how far she was going. And she got so far, I couldn't get going. The only color purple I want to see us in is the robes. The royal robes of our divinity. And the only way we can restore that is to submit to God and allow Him to govern our lives. In my conclusion, Islam, if you're in our submission to the will of God, whether you call yourself a Christian or what, if you submit to God and let Him govern your life and take the example of Jesus, take the example of Muhammad, take the example of these worthies of God and follow in their footsteps, I guarantee you we will gain control of all the negative influences in our life. Incest will fade because there's a natural way to express those kinds of feelings rather than destroying the lives of our young girls. You agree? Yes. And God made man from the dust of the ground. And once man is made, Satan got to try him to see whether he's worthy to rise. And when man submitted to Satan rather than God, man fell into incest. Right? And when he fell as a father, he lost the respect of his child. He became a subject of sex. And sex in Latin means six. And when he fell to sex, he fell under the number of the six and became a beast. You understand? Yeah. So as long as you're in this condition, you can't rise, therefore he, the wicked, do not fall. And that's why, brothers and sisters, as I stand up today to deliver the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a freeing message, a message that makes black men and women see the time, understand the time, and try to be in accord with God's plan for the time, I become a very dangerous man. So they beat on me, see? To do what? To break me. Go ahead. If they break me, then I fall. Then we can't rise. That's right. Therefore, they won't fall. Yes, sir. See? So I must stand. I must stand. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother. I must stand. Yes, sir. I do not care, brother and sister, what they bring against me, I must stand up. For your sake, I must stand. Not just for my sake, but for your sake, I would rather die than buckle. If I have to choose between dying and buckling, I'll die a man that history may reward me for my stand. But I must stand so that you will stand. I must fight against all evil influences within myself so that my sisters can see, wait a minute, good men do exist. The color purple was something that was, but is not necessarily what is, because something new has come on the scene to change the reality of the social conditions that produce a black man as a beast. God is in the scene today. I must stand for your sake, sister. I must not yield to temptation for your sake. You must see that there's a man on the scene that loves you purely, and does not want anything from you but for you to become the woman of God as you once were in the beginning. Nothing else do I want from you. Nothing else. We must show them that. As ministers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we cannot be whoremongers. We cannot be men who lust to jump on women, because if we do that, we are only accentuating the color purple and making women see all men are dogs, but all men are not dogs. There are some dogs that have become men. We must destroy the color purple and then make it into royal robes. It can be done. Brothers, never misuse your woman. The greatest gift that God gives to a man, other than wisdom, is a woman. And to abuse your woman, to misuse her, is a sin of the highest order. And we have sinned against heaven by mistreating our women. We must stop it, brothers. We must stop it. You can't just say that the movie's a lie. The movie's not a lie. That's the condition that the black man has been put in by white people and their institutions and their society. You are no different than that beast that we saw in the form of a human being who mistreats his woman. Most of us are like that. We don't care for our women. They give us babies. They work for us. They clean our clothes. They tend us. They cook for us. And we reward them for this by walking out on them, leaving them, beating them. That ain't no unreal movie. Many men are taking their young daughters off, their nieces off. Many men are doing these things. We got to stop it, brothers. We got to stop it. We got to recognize that the penalty for these kinds of things has to be death. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he would not rest until the Quran became the law under which all the black people live. And in this book, the penalty for that is death, man. You don't rape a woman. The penalty is death. This kind of thing must come to pass. We must kill the rapist. We must kill the destroyer of our women and our children. That kind of person does not deserve to live. Sorry about your tenderness, black woman, But you have to make examples. You cannot reason with a beast. You have to kill the beast and make an example out of that beast for all the others who have a beast-like mentality. You say, but that's not Jesus' teaching. That is Jesus' teaching. When he come back, he don't come back to play. Though he told Peter, put away your sword, when they see him coming in the end, they see him coming at the head of 10,000 with a sword in his hand, and his sword is dripping with blood. Is that right? He comes to conquer, to vanquish the enemy. So I don't follow no punk Jesus. I don't follow no milquetoast dude. And all he knows how to do is say, Father, forgive them. These people don't know what they're doing. Maybe at one time you didn't know, but after you know, Jack, your behind is responsible, and therefore we will deal with you. You understand that, don't you? Huh? There must be a penalty for selling drugs to babies or to our people, brother. And the penalty has to be death. Not prison, but death. Because you're dealing death to your people, then you should be killed. You reap what you sow. You sow in death, so you should reap what you sow, man. That day is coming. We must make a man. And I ain't talking about just a man. We must make a righteous man. And a righteous man that reflects God will be loved by women, honored by women, because you won't see incest. You won't see a father so holy and righteous that he wraps himself up in the scriptures with his misunderstanding and has no compassion for his daughter who errs or the son that errs. But that same pastor will have compassion on the white man who has killed us all the day long. He will bid us don't hate nobody.
Go ahead, brother minister.
But that pastor hated his daughter. Showing you that your religion is meaningless because you live it in hypocrisy. You become self-righteous jackasses, wrapping yourself in your Bibles and your Qurans as though you don't sin at all.
Go ahead, brother minister.
The Color Purple. The doggone movie has so much truth in it. Wimpy men with strong women. Who were those that were following Dr. King? The few men around him, but the majority of them that were in those civil rights struggles. On television that day, they showed a black woman. The police was wrestling that woman right onto the ground with their sticks. You didn't see no black man running in there beating hell out them police. They stand back trembling while the black woman is fighting like hell. No, brother, damn it. When they start beating on our woman, we die right there. We kill until we are satisfied. Color Purple is kind of true. Women in incestuous relationships. I mean, in homosexual relationships. I mean, you'd be surprised how many women have had a homosexual experience. I don't know what the number is, but it's very high. And you'd be surprised how many men have been that way too. They say, well, I didn't play the woman's role. I was the man. Anytime you involved with a man, Jack, there ain't no man role involved with another man, Jim. You can't comfort yourself with that convoluted thinking. You just blew it, that's all. But women understand women. And that's why you all ought to form a strong sisterhood. Because you know, the one thing that comes out of that movie is that woman that was pretty on the outside, she recognized the superiority of Whoopi. Over all her beauty, Whoopi was a superior woman. And in the end, she fell in love with the superior woman. You understand? And sisters, you have to have love in you for one another. Not a crazy love, not a sick love, but a very beautiful sisterly love where you can comfort each other as we suffer and struggle to get up from the condition that this enemy has put us all in. You need one another. You need to befriend one another. You don't need to be this kind of crazy, picky woman that is just looking up and down at everybody that walks, feeling threatened by every other woman. I mean, you're kind of crazy. Poor sisters come to the mosque to hear teaching, and they come looking foxy, you know? Excuse that expression, sisters. But you fine as you want to be. And the other sisters look, they see you come in the door. There ain't but so many men in here, and as fine as you look, there goes their chance. So you see them nudging you, and you come in the search room, they may choke you. Oh, pardon me, I was trying to search you. See, they last chance for a man gone because you so fine. If they wish you would cover up your finery, at least they'd be on even ground. Y'all just don't trust each other. Y'all can't stand each other. Y'all don't like each other. You need to develop sisterhood. You need to stop thinking like the color purple. You sure is ugly. You need to recognize that even in that sister that's not so attractive, there may be a beauty there that will put to shame your outer beauty, because inner beauty is the real beauty, and no sister needs to feel ugly when you realize that beauty is of God and He didn't leave you out, even though outside you may not be as pretty as you would like to be. Stop thinking crazy. Stop thinking like the world. The world wants you to think like a piece of meat. So you must always look after your figure and pay no attention to the shape of your mind and the shape of your spirit and your soul. You got to become a new woman. And in becoming a new woman, you must find relationships with women that are friendly. And you may sit and talk with them and comfort each other and share with each other and help each other to help the man to get up. Because when he get up, he's going to be a giant. We ain't going to have no color purple here. Go ahead. The only purple we want is the royal robe of a holy nation. Go ahead. So I thank you for listening. Go ahead. I thank you for coming out this Wednesday and making me happy by being present. And I hope that something I have said tonight has given you some foresight, but even more than that, I hope it gives you insight. And every time you go to a movie from now on, just think of two words. Whenever blacks are in it, think of two words: rise and fall. Rise and fall. And if you know you don't control the movie industry, and those that control it are those that want to suppress your rise, then look for the subtlety on the television screen. Look for it in Falcon Crest. Look for it in, what's that other one? In Dynasty. Look for it in Dallas. Look for it in the General Hospital. Look for it in Another World. Look for it in The Young and the Restless. Look for it in the Jeffersons. look for it in Cosby. That's why he got the best show on television, because Cosby's show represents rise. You have to be aware of subtleties, but he represents rise. You got to look for it in Benson. You got to look for it whenever they present you a black man. Think of rise and fall. What in it will contribute to our rise? What in it keeps us in a fallen state? We're not taking anything away from Oprah. She was magnificent. And I thank Allah for her brilliant talent that she discovered and was discovered, and her talent has expanded. And Whoopi Goldberg, she was discovered. She's a comedian. She did a marvelous job in playing her part. She's not to blame. Don't blame the actors. The actors are not those who see into the script altogether. And if you listen to Oprah, she will tell you she never did anything to degrade a black man, because she doesn't see. It's not that she's a woman that wants to hurt black people. She's black herself, and she wants to see our rise. But sometimes we're blinded by desire. Yeah. Sometimes we're blinded by the lights. We're blinded by the desire to be on the screen, and so we will take a role that may not be beneficial to our people, because we haven't worked in a long time, and usually the money is very attractive. And you may condemn them today, but if you had the chance tomorrow and somebody offered you a role to play, step and fetch it. And they'd give you $1.5 million to step and fetch it. You fetch it, carry it, lug it, tug it, pull it, haul it, and then come out and justify it by saying, nigga, I can take you to the bar and buy you a drink. Yesterday I couldn't have bought you nothing, because I stepped and fetched it. May Allah bless you. Thank you so much for a wonderful evening. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.